So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me for Conversations with Writers. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Tell me, how did you go about becoming a writer? When did you know? And what was the process of writing your debut novel like?
Well, actually came to it kind of late, believe it or not. Um, I was first in dance, and then I was in theater, and then I was an English major. So I was always studying, it was always about storytelling, right? Like dance is about storytelling, theater is about storytelling, and then reading other people's books and studying those, and it was really good training. But it wasn't until after undergrad and I was teaching high school that a very specific story idea came to me, a story I wanted to tell. And for some reason, I knew it had to be a novel. And fortunately, because of the dance and theater, those professions come with an apprenticeship. There's a specific craft you have to learn. And so I kind of knew that like fiction's going to be the same way. And so I just set about trying to learn everything I could to honor my apprenticeship, to learn this craft. But I also did this really important thing where I just started writing it. So I didn't wait to know everything. And so I started writing this draft. And then when I learned everything I learned about the craft, I could apply to this piece of writing, which was way too long and deeply flawed. But it was so much better than just learning about writing in the abstract without having a project. And so that first novel, I worked on that for about 7 years, and it went through so many revisions, and it was the book I learned on. And I'm actually very grateful and very lucky that it got published, because most people's first novels end up in a drawer, and I have had novels that end up in a drawer, but not the first one. And I think it's because I started with something I was just so passionate about.
That's beautiful. It's okay to have novels in drawers.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I have several.
You love animals, and in your novels, some of the most compelling and endearing characters are often animals. So how do you see animals as making compelling characters, and how do you see our relationship with animals as humans, as characters, but also as people, as being particularly transformative?
Oh my gosh, I love this question so much, because I do love animals so much. And I think I just set out to populate my stories the way I populate my life. There's a mix of human and non-human friends, and who have taught me things. I mean, animals give us so much. And when I think about the animal companions I've had, and everything, the gifts they've brought, right? The things you learn from them, sometimes heartbreaking things. Their lives are never long enough, and I feel like we don't deserve them. You know what I mean? They give us so much. And as humans in general are terrible, and we don't deserve them. My whole life has been a series of difficult horses, very strange cats, devoted dogs, right? I've always had animals in my life. And so I do try to give my books the same cast as my life. And so every book I've ever written has non-human characters who are just as important as the human cast. And I think for the same reason of like hopefully the reader will learn as much as the characters do from these amazing friends we have.
That's beautiful. I was thinking, some animals, I guess we don't have them, like those turtles that live 500 years,
Yeah.
but we don't get to have
Oh my God, I would love to have a giant tortoise. But you know what? For tortoises and for parrots, who also live a very long time, you're supposed to set up a trust for them, because you will probably outlive them. And that is not true of most of our mammal friends.
This is true. You should have like a parrot next.
I should.
So last year, you published Morning in This Broken World, and I'm wondering if you can give us the elevator pitch for it, and also share some of your favorite reactions from readers to the book.
Oh my gosh, yes. All right, so Morning in This Broken World is about a very motley crew of people who come together to ride out the pandemic together. So there is Vivian, a widow who's trying to break out of an assisted living facility, and she invites a nursing assistant and the nursing assistant's 2 children to live with her in her previous home. And they all kind of form this found family And through the course of the book, they really become so connected, and they give each other so many gifts, and they are able to kind of emerge as their more authentic selves at the end of it from this coming together and living together. And they are very unlikely friends. And I really wanted to write an intergenerational friendship story. So the widow becomes very good friends, in particular with a 15-year-old boy. I was so afraid that people would not want a pandemic novel, but the pandemic is just the catalyst that brings them all together. It is not actually what the book is about. So if you're sick of the pandemic, don't worry, right? And the response has been great. So many people have talked about, for instance, they already forgot some of those things from the very early days.
I had that. Yeah. When I was reading it, I was like, what? Yeah.
Because it's set in March of 2020. And so a lot of people have said, like, it's almost like we blocked it. So there's a lot of details from those very early days that are there. And people have loved the intergenerational friendship story. They've loved the kind of different, that, you know, kind of unlocking that amnesia that we had about the early days, and just really recognizing we all went through some stuff. We all of us went through some stuff. But the other reaction I love is when people say this book made them think about other people's experience with the pandemic that was very different from their own. And that was one of my goals as well.
Oh, to provide a deeper
just all the different people, and we all had very different experiences with it.
So I really loved in your book the two young characters. I loved Cooper, who's a misunderstood teen, and his very sunny, can't do anything sister Ren. I was wondering how you went about, one, writing in the voice of such young people, and also just developing their stories to put them on the page.
Yeah. So there's 4 point of view characters, and Cooper and Ren are 2 of them. The other 2 are adults. But yeah, I just feel like I think all writers should have friends of all different ages and all different backgrounds. And I'm very lucky because I have a lot of young people in my life. And I think that helps give them authentic voices. So I taught middle school, I taught high school, I now teach university, but I also have a niece and nephew, and I have lots of friends with really young kids that are also my friends. And so I think that all really helps. But then just developing them, in particular, Ren has cerebral palsy. And I have a friend who's an adult, her name is Dara, who has cerebral palsy. And I just reached out to her and said, I knew for some reason when Ren occurred to me, she was in a wheelchair. And I think this is why, and are you willing to help me get it right? And she was overjoyed and had me shadow her, and just really helped me capture some things. And it was my goal with Ren in particular that she not be a girl with cerebral palsy.
She's
right?
not.
And it's like, this is just one aspect of her. Like Cooper has an issue as well. That's just one aspect of him. Just like all people we meet, right? There's so many different parts of us.
Yeah, I feel like when you're writing about characters that have a disability, sometimes people either make them tragic or it's all about that, and she's just fabulous. She incidentally has this, but she just goes for the stuff, and it was very inspiring and beautiful to read her.
Thank you. That was my goal, so thank you. I'm so
You
glad. And the hot pink wheelchair, that belonged to my friend Dara. She's like, she talked about how she even named her wheelchair, but I didn't take that part, but I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
What do you enjoy the most about writing, and what do you hope that readers take out of your books?
Oh, I love this question so much. The thing I love the most about writing is taking something that's just in your head. It just lives in your head. And then there's this thing that we can do to make it come alive and make other people see this thing that is just in your head. It doesn't actually exist anywhere else, at least because I write fiction, right? And that is just such a cool, it feels almost like a magic trick. And if somebody sees the same thing you did, and if you did service to the story and you managed to pull that off, it just feels, it's like such a joy, it's such a trip every single time. I never get tired of it. And I am so inspired by this Ernest Hemingway quote where he says, "The world breaks everyone, and afterwards some are strong at the broken places." And I feel like every single one of my novels is a variation of that theme. Mm-hmm. So I don't write about people getting broken, but all of my books are about people putting themselves back together. Because the first part, the world breaks everyone, like that just happens, right? It's sooner or later, it's our turn to get kicked in the teeth by life, right? But I just love how some people, and not everybody, but some people do become stronger at the broken places. And so that's what I want readers to take. That message, and then this idea that I think is in all of my books too, that we are always so much better when we lift and support each other. And that also helps us be stronger. So that's my goal in the world, is to get more and more people to see that.
And I think your books definitely do that.
Oh, thank you.
No, they really do. So if readers want to learn more about you and your fiction, where can they find you?
Well, I have a pretty great, if I do say so myself, a pretty great website that a friend has helped me with. And I have a monthly newsletter called Cat's Pajamas that has book recommendations. Yes, Cat with a K, which I write in my pajamas. I got book recommendations, pet pictures, so back to the animals, little interviews, all kinds of stuff, and always reasons to be happy. But I'm also on Facebook and on Instagram.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Thank you. This was a joy.